Smash!
Da 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 do 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 da 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 do do.
All right.
Da 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 do do do.
Hey
Da
now.
da 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 do do. Mr. Kovacs class. It's Mr. Kovacs class.
You might learn a ton.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
It's interesting too.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
And he's super cool.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
You know Magnus.
Smash!
You know, we're in Project Plant. Project Plant. Why are we studying Magnus? And that's a great question. And I want to let you know that plants have mitochondria too. All right, think about it. Right, these are baby plants. These are seeds. Inside a seed, well, let's see, what's inside of a seed? Inside of a seed is we call it the embryo, the little baby plant, right? And then packed in the seed coat with the baby plant is what we call the cotyledon. And the cotyledon is stuffed with starch. And the plant's mother stuck that starch in there. Sometimes we call it the endosperm, the starch, right? Yeah, here's the seed of a corn plant, right? You often eat, like if you eat corn, the sweet stuff, the sweet corn is the sugar in the endosperm, in the cotyledon. You know, if you eat beans, you're really eating the cotyledon and the baby. I mean, if you eat corn or beans, you're baby eaters. All right. So of course they got that stuff, right? They've got stored starch. Why do they need stored starch? Because they'll need energy. They can't do photosynthesis. They can't make their own glucose, so they have to have it stored. And then, yeah, guess what? They need Magnus to do.
Smash!
Right? When they start to grow, and we remember that they first grow this radical, which is like figures out up and down. To grow costs energy. Guess what they need Magnus to do?
Smash!
Then, once they've established themselves above the ground, they need to grow their first leaves. In order to grow, it takes energy. What do they need Magnus to do?
Smash!
And then, of course, once they have made their leaves, they can start making their own glucose. And then they could have Magnus smash their own glucose. What's interesting, I think, is really interesting, is that photosynthesis itself is not free. In order to break apart water, you need the power of light, and you need to use a little ATP in order to move those hydrogen atoms into the Calvin cycle. So, yeah, in order to do photosynthesis, you even need Magnus too.
Smash!
And then, of course, as you grow, our plants are reproduced sexually. So we call the reproductive organ of a flowering plant, of our plants, an angiosperm. It's called a flower. And like most flowers, our plants have both male and female parts. To grow those parts, guess what you need Magnus to do?
Smash!
The male part, the boy part, is called the anther, right? It's called the stamen, and the anther is at the end of the stamen. And the stamen is what makes pollen. Pollen are basically little reproductive cells, sperm cells wrapped in a protective coat of protein made by the stamen. The stamen. The female part of the plant is called the pistil. Pistil. And the female part of the plant makes eggs. It makes it here in the ovary. Right? So the big challenge for plants, of course, is to get pollen from one plant, the stamen of one plant, to the pistil of another plant. There are lots of ways that plants do this. The most famous ways, of course, is the birds and the bees. You know, pollination with insects or mammals or spiders or whatever. But there are a lot of plants out there that don't even do that. They use the wind. You know, they just throw their pollen grains into the wind. You know, my guess is if you're allergic to, you know, let's say you're allergic to ragweed or something, you've got a pollen allergy, you're allergic to a plant that just throws its pollen into the wind. Usually if it's pollen that's got to be transferred by an insect, it's too heavy to fly that far in the wind. But if it's a small little pollen grain and they throw it into the wind, it gets carried by the wind and goes into your nose, and then of course you sneeze.
Whoa, Godzilla.
And then of course, if sperm meets egg, the plants become pregnant, and we call that pregnant part of a plant a fruit. Inside the fruit, and the fruit is just the ovary of the plant, and then the new babies are inside the, right? Or sometimes they're lined up on the outside, like this is called an aggregate fruit, like a raspberry. Each one of the little like fruits on a raspberry is an individual egg that's been fertilized. And then of course we think of fruits, right, as these are the parts that you eat. So obviously the plants store a lot of starch and sugars in their fruits. And I think they actually, as weird as it's gonna sound, they kind of want you to eat them, right? And it kind of makes sense. Plants are stuck in place, right? So let's say you put your babies in this fruit, right? If they just drop the fruits on the ground, now their babies are gonna be competing with them for light and water and all that stuff and soil. So what you wanna do is you wanna entice an animal maybe to come and pick that fruit, eat it, and then drop the seeds somewhere else. If you're lucky, they'll drop it in some fertilizer. Okay? But not all fruit is dispersed by animal. And not all fruit is good to eat. Like, you probably recognize those. Those are maple tree fruits. Those are baby maple trees, right? That's the female part of the maple flower. Maple trees make flowers and fruits. They usually don't eat these little helicopters. Or, you know, the famous dandelion, the flower is an aggregate flower. The flower are yellow, the petals are yellow. When the flowers have been fertilized, the babies are these little white fuzzy things, and you know that these guys disperse with the wind. In fact, you know when you pick one up and you go, and you blow the little fluffies off of there? They want you to do that. They do, because then you're spreading their little babies. These, of course, you probably don't recognize, but these are the fruits of grass, you know, that grows in your lawn. Grass is flowering plants. They don't have very exciting flowers. They both pollinate by the wind and they disperse their seeds by the wind, right? If a lot of people are allergic to grass pollen. And then here's a pretty famous fruit that you don't eat, but certainly other animals would do. Those are oak tree fruits. And I think, again, oak tree, I don't think they drop a whole bunch of them. They drop thousands of them, one oak tree. And I don't think they mind when the squirrels take some and eat some, because the squirrels are also good at burying the acorns, the oak fruits at other places. And if you think about it, if they forget to eat them, they've planted them. And that's good. You got a new oak tree. All right. And then there's some things you don't forget that there's some plants we don't eat the fruit. Like we eat the root of a potato. That's a potato. That's not a fruit. That's a root, a tuber. Potatoes make flowers and fruits. Those are what potato fruits look like. You do not want to eat the fruits. They're poisonous. Potato fruits are poisonous. Potato roots are yummy, right? Or maybe, right, you recognize carrots. We eat the roots. Carrots, though, make flowers, and the flowers get fertilized. These are what carrot seeds, these carrot fruits look like. They're a lot like dandelions. They blow off in the wind to spread themselves. All right, so you think of plants, and we've been studying Project Plant. Even though they can do photosynthesis, they still need Magnus, because Magnus can take their glucose and
Smash!